Hello Monish, I am Saitanushri from JNV Anantapur. My question to you is, as our studies progress, we may come across both friends and enemies. Is it better to avoid enemies or should we seek revenge on them? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Please have a seat. Life is too short to seek revenge. We should leave the revenge for the Bollywood movies. We don't need to take revenge. So when you encounter people who are, you call them enemies, but people who don't have your best interest in mind, the best thing is ignore. Just ignore those folks and minimize your time with them and take it from there. But don't you're not going to be able to change them. So humans are the way they are. After the age of 6, they cannot change. So between their genetics and what happens in the first 5-6 years of life, that will form who a person is. Okay, so next question.
I'm Aparna from JNV Koppal, Karnataka. And my question to you is, as you are the one of the successful investor, what made you to choose this risky career and which incident in your life made you to take this big step? Thank you.
Okay, good question. I did not think that when I was going to take this direction in my career or life, that I was going to be taking some risk. I did not see it that way. So just to kind of explain a little bit, basically, I accidentally heard about a person named Warren Buffett when I was 30 years old. And before I heard of him, I was an engineer. I had started my own company doing IT services and so on. And when I heard about Mr. Buffett and I studied what he was doing, I realized that basically he was using a way to invest, which would basically end up making him probably the wealthiest person in the world. And he was doing it in a very simple manner, the way he was going about doing it. And it also highlighted to me the power of compounding. So basically, you guys may know the story, but in some kingdom, there was a king and some guy had invented the game of chess. And the king was really excited about the game of chess. He was playing a lot of chess. And he told the person who invented the game of chess that ask for any reward and I'll give you that reward, right? So he said, I just want you to put 1 grain of rice on the first square, 2 grains of rice on the second square, and then keep doubling the grains until the 64th square. And the king got upset. He said, I wanted to give you so many riches. You're asking for a bunch of rice. He said, yeah, that's all I want. So he told his minister, measure out the rice and give it to him and get him out of my court. And after 3-4 days, the minister came and said, sir, we don't have the rice. And because basically, if you are doing, if you're doing 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 to the power of 63, I think this becomes 2 to the power of 64 minus 1, okay? And that is a huge number. And it's actually more rice than is there in the whole planet Earth. So they could never give him the rice, right? And so the way this compounding works is what I noticed when I encountered Mr. Buffett was that when I heard about him for the first time in 94, he was born in 1930. So at that time, he was 64 years old. And at that time, he had been compounding money more than 26% a year. So whatever money he had, it was growing at 26% a year or higher. He had started when he was about 18 years old. So when he was 18 years old, he had about $10,000. And this $10,000 is growing at 26% a year. There is something known as the Rule of 72. Have you heard of it? Anyone heard of Rule of 72? Because it is not in the JEE curriculum, but it needs to be in the JEE curriculum. It's a very important rule to understand. So the Rule of 72 is kind of a mathematical shortcut. So let's say, for example, I have money that is growing at 10% a year, okay? And I want to know how long will it take at 10% compounded to double? If money is growing at 10% a year compounded, how long will it take to double? So what you can do is you just do 72 divided by 10, it is approximately 7. So if I have 100 rupees, 1 year from now I have 110 rupees, and 2 years from now I have 121 rupees, it'll keep going. It's not increasing at 10 rupees a year, it's increasing at more than 10 rupees per year because you're compounding on the previous money. So it would take about 7 years to double. If you were getting 7% a year, it's 72 divided by 7, it will take about 10 years to double, okay? And if you are doing 26%, this is approximately equal to 3, okay? So if you do 1.26 times 1.26 times 1.26, it'd be exactly 2, okay? If someone is doing 26% a year, the money is going to double every 3 years, okay? Now, that's what Mr. Buffett was doing when he was 18 years old. So if I go from 18 to 64, this is 46 years. And let's make this 45 years just to make the math easier. Okay? It's 15 doubles, right? So it's 2 to the power of 15. What is 2 to the power of 15? 2 to the power of 15 is 2 to the power of 10 times 2 to the power of 5. 2 to the power of 10 we know is 1024. And 2 to the power of 5 is 32, right? So let's throw away the 24 just to make it simple. It is about 32,000, right? So if I start with 10,000 and I multiply that by 32,000, is it 320? So it becomes 320 million, okay, out of 10,000. Now, that is when he was 64 years old. Now he is 90 years old. Because I heard about him in 94, but he continued doing that. He's still alive. So basically, if I add another 29 years or 30 years to it, so from 1994 till 2023, he's compounding at approximately 20% a year, okay? So if you do 20% a year with the rule of 72, it's 3.5 years for a double, approximately, right? So 72 divided by 20 is approximately equal to 3.5. So if I take, let's say, 31 years, and money is doubling every 3.5 years, so 10.5 years is 3 doubles, and 31.5 years is 9 doubles, right? So I would take 2 to the power of 9. This is 512, okay? And let's make the math simple, make this 500. So it would be 320 million times 500 is 1.6 billion, okay? Now, Mr. Buffett started giving his money to charity about 15 years ago, so that basically some of that money, a lot of that money is going every year to charity. But if he had not given anything to charity, the total amount he would have right now is not 160 billion. It's actually about 250 billion, not from doing any work, no chakki piso, no labor, not working in some job, just invested the money, right? And so when I read about this in 94, I said, I should try to do this. This seems like a good idea. And I said that if I don't compound at 26% and I end up compounding at 15%, is still okay. So in 94, I was running my IT company. I was 30 years old, and a small portion of it got sold. And when this small portion got sold, after paying taxes and everything, I got $1 million. For the first time, 1 million is how much in Indian rupees? 8 crores. Okay? I'm giving you all the numbers in dollars, but you can convert to crores. So like this 250 billion is 2,000 billion crores rupees. Okay, that's the number for him. So I said, okay, this is 1994. Let me use Mr. Buffett's approach and see what can happen with this $1 million. By the year 2000, this money had become 13 billion. It had grown at much higher rate than 26%. Well done, Mohnish. Well done. Even I have to pat myself. Nobody's patting my back, so I have to do it myself. So this was like a 70% annual rate of increase. It was very high. So I said, I knew I could do this. I knew. Nobody believed me. So from, let's say from 1994 to 2000, the compounding rate is 70% a year. From 2000 to 2007, it's about 36% a year. And then it declined. Then from like 2008 to 2023, it's maybe around 10 to 12%. Okay? So it's kind of what happened. So if I look at the period from 1994 to 2023, it's about 29 years, right? And it grew at a decent clip, and it became a relatively large number. And now, just like Mr. Buffett, when I leave planet Earth, do you know when I'm leaving planet Earth? You don't know. Let me tell you. June 11, 2054 is the date I am leaving planet Earth. Okay? And which is about, we are in 2023, so we have about 30 and a half years. You know why the 30.5 years is important to me? Not so I can spend time with my kids. They already left the home and they're gone. Okay? Not so I can be with the friends and all. It is to compound. I just want to compound the money. So if in the next 30 years, I am compounding, let's say at 15%, it will double every 5 years, right? So it will be 6 doubles. That is 64, okay? Now, currently, the money is about, let's say, 600 crores. We'll switch to Indian rupees, okay? And this 600 crores, if I multiply by 64, if it is 60,000, 30,000, maybe it'll be around 40,000 crores. But there's also another engine. I have 6,000 crores that other people have given me to invest, okay? This is my money, but other people gave me 6,000 crores to invest because they want to make some money. So they said, Mohnish, please take our money, please invest it, please make us rich, etc. I said, no problem, we will do that. The deal I have with them on every year, the first 6% return goes to them. Okay? Whatever the money increases above 6%, I get 25% and they get 75%. Let's say, for example, the money goes up by 10% in a year. So 6,000 crores becomes 6,600 crores. What will happen is that the remaining 4% will get split. 1% to me, 3% to them. Okay? So which means that I will get 1% of this amount at 10%. So I will get 60 crores. Right now, next year, there is 6,600 crores. And again, if I get 10%, I will get 66 crores, right? If the same thing happened. And then this money gets added to this money to put on his compounding engine. Hey, run this for 30 years, right? Another very big number. Is it a big number? Because it is all compounding, right? So this 60 crores will go up by 64, right? Because it is increasing at 15%. So it will go up. Okay, so basically, I was saying that I didn't really take any risk. Mr. Buffett is really famous for not taking risk. Whenever he makes an investment, he tries extremely hard to make sure that the risk of making that investment is very low. So he looks for what we would call anomalies. In the stock market and other places, you can find weird things that happen which can lead to these anomalies. And they don't happen all the time. They happen once in a while, but they can lead to anomalies. So I was saying that I like to play math games, right? So this was a math game that I started playing in 94. And my original plan was to play it for 30 years. I just wanted to see if I had the million and I ran it for 30 years, what would happen, right? The compounding continues. So one game that I'm playing until June 11th, 2054 is to compound the money, right? So let me tell you my problems in life. You know, you think you have problems in life with all this difficult study and all that. I also have a lot of problems in life. In 2007, Dakshana started operating, okay? And the idea I had is that on June 10th, 2054, I want to have 10,000 rupees left for myself. So the money needs to be gone, like disappeared, okay? But not just disappeared, it needs to be used well to help society, okay? So that's the second game. In the entire program, we take 1,000 kids every year. And whether we take a kid for a 2-year program or in Dakshana Valley, 1-year program, the cost to take one kid is 2.5 lakhs. That is approximately the cost it ends up. Like I look at like you guys cost the faculty and all of that over 2 years. It'll be, if there are 40 of you here, maybe actually more because we don't get economies of scale, but it will be about 1 crore a year. Actually, it'll be 1 crore over 2 years. So maybe around 50 lakhs a year because we have 3 faculty members and materials and all of that. So the smaller batches cost us a little bit more, but it averages out. So it costs 2.5 lakhs. Then you multiply that by 1,000 and Dakshana is spending 25 crores a year. Okay? So it needs to spend so that this amount comes down. We need to bring the amount down. One engine is raising the amount and the second engine needs to reduce the amount. And they need to work in the manner so June 10th, we are left with 10,000. I don't want to be in a situation where in 2044 there is no money. For 10 years, I have no money left. Now, the problem right now is that on one side, there is the 600 crores. On the other side, there is the 25 crores, right? This is what is there today, and then this is the amount being spent. Now, this is rising at 15%, let's say. So a year from now, this will be 690 crores. Minus 25 will be 665. So it's increasing. If it's increasing, then how will we get to 10,000? So basically, about a bunch of other donors have come into Dakshana, and they are giving about 70 crores every year to Dakshana. Like Bajaj, the company Bajaj, or Microsoft, or Oracle, or DMart. There are a whole bunch of different donors they're giving. And so actually my portion is now down to 8 crores, which means that it's actually not going down by 25 crores. It's going down by 8 crores. And so this is becoming 682, right? And then I already told you there's the second engine, the 1%, the 60 crore that came over there. So what happens is it's 682 plus 60. So it is 742 after 1 year. So what was 600 becomes 742 after 1 year. After 2 years is even more. And so I keep thinking, what can I do, right? So what we decided, one of the things we decided is, we are increasing our capacity from 1,000 per year to 60 per year, okay? The one problem we run into with the JNV system is very difficult for us to get locations like this where we can bring kids for coaching, because all the JNVs are at capacity. So very difficult. We keep asking the JNV system, can we get more room, this and that? And they always tell us no, which is why we bought our own campus. So this capacity increase from 1,000 to 1,600, this will take 3 years. We are doing this in Dakshana Valley. It's going to cost about maybe around 100 crores to build the dorms and the classrooms and different things to do that. So that's good. 100 crores will get used. Isn't that good? But there's another problem. Dakshana has its own money, which is separate from my money. And Dakshana has about 200 crores of its own. And then the other problem is this 3 years is that we have to manage it. A lot of construction. At one point in Dakshana Valley, there may be 500 construction workers. So there's a lot of activity to get that done. So anyway, this will happen. Now, when we go from 1,000 to 1,600, we will be spending 1,600 times 2.5 lakhs per year. It'll go to 40 crores. The spending for Dakshana will go from 25 crores to 40 crores, which is good. So I was thinking, okay, we can keep increasing capacity. We can try to keep doing that. Now, the problem is that IIT has 17,000 seats in IIT. How many seats can Dakshana take? As it is, all the rich people are upset at Dakshana for taking all these seats. If we actually took 2,000 seats every year at IIT, we will be 1 in 8 IITians will be from Dakshana. Okay, it's a huge number. Okay, so, but let's say that's the upper limit. Let's say upper limit is 2,000. Okay, so as you can see, I like to play these math games. So let's see what's happening on the IIT side. So let's say there are 2,000 IIT seats we can take. Let's say we have a 66% success rate. That means we can take 3,000 kids per year, okay? So like 2,000 for IIT, 1,000 for NIT, for example. So we can take 3,000 kids. Now, let's say you take medical and some other fields, and you add maybe even another 2,000 kids. So 5,000. Once Dakshana is taking 5,000 kids a year, it's tapped out. There are no more seats left to take. We have squeezed everything we can, okay? So this is 125 crores a year, okay? Now, the problem with these engines, like I told you, it went from 600 to 742 in 1 year, right? It went up in 1 year by more than 125 crores, which means that even if today we were able to spend the 125 crores, and even if today there were no outside donors and I was funding the whole thing, this number would keep increasing because it's going to keep growing because it's not utilizing the whole thing. But because it will be, in reality, what's going to happen is, it is 2024 now, let's say. It will be 2027 by the time we are at 1,600. Okay, so if I run some numbers for you. So 2023, capacity is 1,000. 2027, the capacity is 1,600. Let's say 2030, I can take it to, let's say, 2,500. I really push it. 2033, I take it to 3,500. 2036, 2039, maybe it's 2039, it's at 5,000. Okay? Just because it will take time to build infrastructure and all of that. And this is a pretty aggressive. If I told the Dakshana management, this is what we want to do, okay, you heard it. So, but even if we do this, this is happening 16 years from now, right? And even if we do it after 16 years, the compounding is continuing for 30 years. So I keep thinking I need to find something else, some other engine. We have one engine that works. So we have to start experimenting with other engines. Many will not work. And the Dakshana engine works really well. You know, we are very good at how we select the kids, and we're very good at how we coach you. And all of that system is working fairly well. So it works well. So the very long answer to your question, but basically no risk was taken. So next question.
Good morning, Mohnish. Myself Jeevita from JNV Bangalore Urban. My question to you is, due to caste reservation, many talented people are left behind as they're not getting good opportunities to excel. Whereas it's actually necessary as everyone can't afford in which they want to excel. So what's your opinion on this? Is caste reservation good or bad?
Okay, good. So the caste reservation system is a debate that goes on forever. People have strong opinions on both sides. It may be better for me to discuss it with you in the context of the United States, because then you can look at it kind of in a more objective way. So in the United States, from the 15th century till about the 17th century, a lot of African slaves were brought in to the country forcibly to basically work as slaves in the cotton fields. So there was no labor available. They rounded up people in Africa, they put them in chains, they put them in a ship, they brought them to the US, they put them to work in the fields, gave them basic amount to live, etc. And it was very inhumane. Large numbers of them died before they even reached there, right? Now, the United States has approximately maybe 18% or so of the country is black, African, which came through slavery. And in 1863, with the Civil War in the US, slavery was abolished. So it was no longer allowed after 1863 that you could have a slave. It became illegal. But the issue was that at that time when it was abolished, you have a set of people who have no education and who are at the absolute bottom of society, right? And even if we look today, 2023, per capita income amongst white Americans or amongst Asian Americans or amongst Hispanic Americans or Black Americans will be the lowest. So the government in the United States came up with something known as affirmative action. And affirmative action in the United States is very similar to the caste system in India. So, or the quota system in India. What the government said is that they told the universities that if you relax your admission criteria for underprivileged minorities like blacks or Hispanics and so on, it's okay. That's a good thing to do. And they also created a number of things where, let's say, the government is giving some project to build a road. They did a set aside. They said 20% of the money has to be going to businesses owned by black people so that they can rise. And so all these different things were done to basically try to level the playing field, right? The same debate goes on in the US. There are people who say that the injustices that were done earlier were done to people who are already dead and gone. We should today treat everyone the same, and we should not have any differences in how we are treating them. Second group of thought is that these people are much lower because of the history. And we have to make them rise because that's the best thing for society. And so in the US, this debate goes on. There's all these things going on. In India, we have the same debate going on, right? And what has actually happened in India is that the scheduled caste system of reservations, if you go back and look at what has happened in history, it has actually uplifted the scheduled caste quite a bit. Their standards have gone up quite a bit. The same system that has been applied to the scheduled tribes has done almost nothing, because I think the scheduled tribes are so low, they are so much at the bottom, Adivasis in the forest and so on, that there are some additional programs needed to just get them to baseline before they can take advantage. So there is a very good case to be made in India, I think, to take down the reservation for the scheduled caste, or to redo that list. Look at it by caste, look at how people are doing in each of those categories, and remove the ones that, or reduce the benefit to the ones that don't need so much benefit. It will not happen because it is political suicide. Any politician who stands for election saying, I will take all these people out, will not win any election. He may not even survive. He may get shot. Okay? So basically, we have a kind of politics on top of that to deal with. So then we get to a place like Dakshana, right? Dakshana can make its own policies, whatever it wants, and so on. I am of the opinion that what would be the best system would be an income-based system, not a caste-based system. But because they did not yet make me the emperor of India with unlimited powers and lifetime appointment, I told them, make me the emperor of India for the rest of my life. I'll change the country. They said, please sit down. Go sit in the corner. Time out. Okay? They're not interested. So the reality that Dakshana has to deal with is that the IITs have a quota for scheduled caste, and the IITs have a quota for scheduled tribes, and the IITs have a quota for disabled, right? They have all these quotas. They have quota for girls also now. We cannot ignore those quotas. If we ignore those quotas, our success rates will go down. So what we said, okay, if there's a scheduled caste quota for IITs, why don't we take scheduled caste kids in Dakshana who are very poor and help use that quota properly? What happens is that if you take Dakshana out of the picture, all those quota seats in the IITs go to middle class or higher families, right? The people who can afford the coaching. And so the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribe who will take those seats are the ones who are already uplifted because they can afford the coaching. So what we did at Dakshana, we said, okay, whether we agree or disagree with scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, whatever, we don't care. We do agree that poor people should get a chance. So Dakshana is a very simple model. We try to screen for income, and we take, so for example, the IITs have a 3% quota for disabled, and Navodaya has a 3% quota for disabled. The quotas are matching. What we found is that disabled quota in IIT is almost not used at all because there are so few people who are aware of it or applying for it, and they also have a stringent criteria. If you get to IIT as a disabled person, there is a medical exam. So a doctor is going to certify whether you are actually disabled or not. So you cannot just, get some fake certificate saying, my leg is gone. You have to go there and show them that you have no leg. Okay? You can't show some certificate. So there is no corruption in the IITs in the disabled quota, right? So Dakshana, I feel if we take kids who have arms missing or legs missing or one eye missing, in India, the disabled are not treated well. So we do a really good job. Anyone disabled over here? Do we have any disabled scholar? What is your disability? Oh, your hand. Okay, so see, when you go for your medical, it'll be over in 10 seconds. You just show your hand and the doctor will say everything is fine. So basically, your hand having a disability does not stop you from being a functional person. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Right-handed? Can you write with your right hand? You can write. So there's no issue. So that's an example of a disability that we can actually work with. We can make things happen. So basically, my take is the quota system in India needs to change. They refuse to make me the emperor who could change it. So I have to stay within my little Dakshana universe and see what we can do within that universe. And that's why we do that. Next question.
Hello, Mohnish. I'm Neha from JNV Bangalore, Telangana. What is your aim actually? You have been helping poor students across India to get into IITs and medical colleges since 17 years. So what do you advise us so that we could also reach such a high position and contribute to the society like you? Thank you.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. So as you can see, my aim is just to play math games. I just like to play math games. And I would encourage you to also play math games. Math games are fun. And I feel that this group, you will do well in life. And I hope when you do well in life, you will also look at how you can help others in a manner that makes life better for everyone. So you can all think about the situation. It doesn't need to be anything to do with Dakshana. It can be in your village or community, whatever. It's not a problem. And so that's what I would encourage you to do is, right now I would just say focus on the JEE, focus on doing well in IITs, focus, getting a good job. And then after a few years, when things are well set, your family is taken care of and all of that, then you can start looking at, okay, what else are possibilities? And we can take it from there. So, next question.
Hello Mohnish, I am Renuka from JNV Kadapa. So my question to you is, in this 17 years journey of Dakshana, have you ever felt regret about starting this foundation? Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. We started in 2007, and almost immediately after that, there was the global financial crisis in 2008 and 2009. And I had set a formula when we had started Dakshana at that time. So in 2007, my net worth was about $85 million. And I had set a plan at that time, because I was only 43 years old, that every year I would give 2% of the amount to Dakshana. So this was supposed to be about 1.7 million. By 2009, this amount had gone down to 20 million because the stock market had crashed. And there was a big drop in my assets. And this formula of 2%, it was 2% over 50 million. So what the plan was that if the total assets are under 50 million, we give nothing. And over 50 million, we give 2%. When I was at 20 million in 2009, it was not sustainable to give like the 1.7 million. It was too high a number. You know, I would be like a possibility of having all money gone, for example. So I was very concerned about the program and where we were at. So I decided that in 2009, we had a few scholars, had scholars going through our program. We said, anyone who's in the program, we'll continue running the program, get them through their coaching, but we will not take a new batch, right? So we said that in 2009, we will skip a year, we won't take a batch. And I went and talked to Navodaya and I explained to them the problem I was having, and they understood. And they said, look, don't eliminate the program, reduce the size. So we were at that time taking about 400 kids a year. We went down to 50 per year. We only ran in 2009, for all of India, we only took 50 scholars and we put them at JNV Bangalore. And I said, that's fine. We can take a small number. We can downsize the program and so on. Now, when the markets went down that much, by 2010, my net worth was more than 40 million. 2011 was more than 55 million, and so on. Things came back, no problem, right? And so let's say 2009, we took 50. In 2010, we were back at 400. We just it was easy to see that things would be okay. And so I would say that in the journey that we had, the 2009 period was probably the one where I was very concerned about whether or not the program will continue and what the situation was and all of that. And I was grateful for the advice of the Navodaya Samiti people who said that Indian government works with precedent. And we had a MOU with the Indian government, and they said, don't go to a point where the program is abandoned. Because then they said restarting may be hard. Just keep it going in a smaller scale. So that worked well because it never stopped. And so that worked out well. And so I think in the 17 years, actually, what has happened with Dakshana has exceeded all my expectations by a very wide margin. The partnership with Navodaya has been excellent. Really good people joined our team. Now we have a lot of alums who are part of Dakshana. Ravi is an alum, for example. And more of our faculty and our management is alumni from Dakshana, which is really good because they were in your shoes. And so they understand the situation quite well. Next question.
Hello Mohnish, myself Sanya Rupawat from JNV Nalgonda, Telangana. So my question to you is, there is a saying in Bhagavad Gita that says, it is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. So according to you, is it okay to have a role model to motivate us, or should we get motivated by ourselves? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question, and it's a wonderful way to think about it. What I have always found from my own journey is that I don't need to come up with my own answers for many of the issues I face. Many times someone else has already figured it out. So like, for example, everything about compounding that I learned from Warren Buffett, right? And I tried to follow that approach. I followed that approach because when I tried the glove on, it fit quite well. So if I did not enjoy the work or something like that, I would not do that. So I always ask myself when I'm doing something, whether this is something I enjoy doing or not. So I agree with Gita that you should not be walking in someone else's shoes with their journey. But I also feel that you should look around at models that people have used in the past and whether those models can be applicable to you. So sometimes these role models can be living people, and many times they can be what Charlie Munger would call the eminent dead. So we have a lot of great things to learn from the eminent dead. And now Charlie has joined the eminent dead. So yeah, I mean, I think that cloning or copying is a very powerful model. Most humans have some kind of a mental block against doing it. They feel like it's somehow beneath. But actually, if you follow it, it gives you a very big advantage. So for example, some of you may be familiar with DMart. DMart is a business model that was completely copied from Costco and Walmart in the US. Mr. Ramesh Damani, he's a supporter of Dakshana. DMart gives us money every year. And I asked him, I said, how come DMart is so successful? So he said, I read a book. I said, what book did you read? He said, Made in America by Sam Walton. It's a book written by the founder of Walmart. Okay. That book has sold like more than 20 million copies worldwide. It has been published in every language. Millions of people read that book. So if you read that book, there's nothing special. He said, I read the book 8 times. Okay. So he looked at that model very intensely. Whereas everybody else who just read the book, it's okay, good. If you look at Microsoft as a company, almost every product of theirs that has succeeded has been copied from someone else. So Microsoft Word was copied from WordPerfect, which was a product that existed before Word. Excel was copied from Lotus. Windows was copied from the Macintosh. And Bing was copied from Google. And even now with AI, they have taken it from, AI.org. So, but they got a lot of success only by copying, right? I mean, so there's a lot of advantage if you can use a model that someone has already created. But you have to make sure it's something that you would be excited about. Next question.
Hello Mohnish, this is Srinitya from JNV Adilabad, Telangana. Can you please share an incident in your life that inspired you to a great extent? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think we can look back. In your case, I think there's not that much to look back on. But there are things that happen in our lives at different times that have a huge impact on us. And it's something that's sometimes just random or something which appears really small. So until I was in 8th standard, and I went through CBSE like you. So typically in the class, I remember when I was in 3rd standard, in a class of 60, my rank was like 58. And I remember in 3rd standard, there was a big, the school had like 100 kids in the class. It was a big classroom, not a very good school. I remember being in that classroom and not understanding anything that is going on. Whatever teacher was putting on the board, whatever, I had no understanding of. I was sitting way at the back in the class. The acoustics was not very good, can't hear what's going on, whatever. So I just accepted that I'm a below average student. It is the way it is. Some people are above average, some people are below average. In 8th standard, I was at this school in Delhi, and this group of people, 2 or 3 people had come to the school, and they conducted a IQ test for all the students in the school. And in my case, I had the highest score of my entire class. That school that I was going to in Delhi, the Air Force School, was one of the best schools I had been to. It was very competitive. The students were very smart. And out of 40 kids, my rank would be like 30 out of 40. Little better than 38 out of 40. So this test takes place for the first time ever in my life. I am number 1. Never happened, okay? And I'm a very shy kid. So I go up to the 2 people, they are like packing up all their stuff. And I said, can I just talk to you for a minute? They said, yeah, sure. So I said, what does this test result mean? So while the guy is packing his things, he said, oh, you're extremely smart. So I said, my grades and all my marks in all the subjects are very low. So again, the guy is just packing. He's not even looking at me. He said, oh, you are not applying yourself. If you apply yourself, you'll be at the top. Okay. And he said, you didn't just come first in this class. He said, you came first in the whole school. Okay. So, and then the guy packed his things and left. And from that day onwards, the rank started improving. So within 1 month, I was like 25th rank. And within maybe 1 year, I was in the first half, 18th rank or something. And by the time I finished 10th standard, I was probably top 20% in the class. Then by the time I finished 12th standard, I was third in the class in that school. And then by the time I finished college, I finished a degree in 3 years, top 1%. So it just kept moving up, right? And it was 2 sentences someone said to me at one point, not even making eye contact and talking. So sometimes things like that can happen, which can be quite interesting. I was in London vacationing with my wife before our kids were born in 94. And I was looking for a book to read when we were going to fly back to Chicago to our home, about 10-hour flight. So I picked up a book by Peter Lynch. He's an investor, called One Up on Wall Street. I didn't know anything about investing. I just picked up some book to read on the flight. And I loved the book. It was really good. I really got excited about the book. Then I saw that he has one more book. I read that book. I liked that also a lot. Then there are no more Peter Lynch books. He only wrote 2 books. But then he was talking about a guy in the second book, some guy named Warren Buffett, who I never heard of. And then I started to research Warren Buffett. That opened up a big world to me. And what I did is that I just kept going deeper and deeper into that world, which was not a world that I had been trained on or had experience in or any other education in or anything, but I just kept learning myself. And so what will happen in your life is that these types of things will happen. You read some book or someone makes some remark, whatever. What matters is not what was said to you or what you read. What matters is your reaction. So when you find something that really resonates with you a lot, you have to go all in. You have to say, okay, I think I'm going to really enjoy going deep into this area. And so I'll go deep and see. And some of those may be dead ends. They may not be areas that work out, but some will turn out to be great. So that's the way I look at it. So I think that as we go through our life journey, we have to pay attention to these, what I would call the aha moments. They come up at very random times in very strange ways. So I'll give you one more example. In 2019, I was visiting Turkey, Istanbul, the capital of Turkey, the birthplace of Ustad Asadullah Khan Ghalib, also known as Mirza Ghalib. He was Turkish. He came from Istanbul. But in 2019, I was in Istanbul. And the reason I went to Istanbul was that when I was looking at stock markets around the world, the Turkish market was showing to be extremely cheap, like the cheapest in the whole world. And I happened to have a friend of mine in Turkey who was a disciple of Warren Buffett, just like me, and Haydar Akun. So I contacted Haydar and said, Haydar, I want to visit Istanbul for a week. And I would like to visit companies that you have invested in your fund, in your investment fund. I said, don't take me to any companies where you have not put money, only the companies where you have invested. So he said, oh, it'll be a lot of fun. Please come to Istanbul. We'll have a good time. So I was visiting different companies in Istanbul. We were driving to this one company. And as we were driving, I was asking Haydar some questions about the company that we were going to see. So he was saying that this company, it's called Reysas. The market cap was 20 million. What that means is that you could buy the whole company for 160 crores. Okay. Market cap was 20 million. I mean, that's the value of the whole business. Okay. The liquidation value was 800 million. What that means is that if they just sell everything, stop the business, sell everything, they'll get 800 million, which means that if I invest in the company at 20 million, every dollar I invest, I'll get $40 back. $1 becomes $40 in one day, So, I told you these weird things happen at random times. So I told Haydar, fraud hai kya? Is it a fraud? You know how there are so many fraud companies. He said, no, it's not a fraud company. It's a perfectly normal company. I have an investment in it. And what was happening at that time in Turkey is that all the foreign investors, everyone was exiting the market because the lira was so unstable and the government policies were so bad. That was the reason the market was so cheap. And things were very mispriced. So I went and met the owners of the company. They looked perfectly normal, good people to me. And they owned 80 warehouses. These were industrial warehouses, large, huge industrial warehouses, like 300,000-400,000 square feet each one. Like Amazon has rented a warehouse, IKEA has rented a warehouse, and Mercedes has rented a warehouse. So and these are warehouses which are 99% rented out. The rent comes every month. It's very stable. So I went and saw these warehouses. They look very good to me. And I started buying the shares because I could not see anything wrong with the company. And I ended up spending $8 million to get 1/3 of the company. Okay. So for $8 million investment, I got 1/3 of the ownership of the company. Now, today in 2023, the value is $500 million. So it has gone from 20 million to 500 million in the last 4 years because it was so cheap, right? It was very undervalued. And so our 8 million has become 150 million approximately. But they have increased the value of the business. The value of the business now is 1.5 billion. So it is still cheap. It's still going, right? And so something like this, with a company like this, I will see it 2 times in my lifetime if I'm lucky. Okay. And when it will show up and how it will show up is very hard to predict, right? And I realized that the people running the company, they're extremely good. So I decided we don't ever need to sell this. Just keep it forever, right? And so, like I said, like that guy shows up in the classroom, or I accidentally hear about Warren Buffett, or I'm in Turkey and something like this is happening. These are things that are difficult to predict. But what you have to do in life is you have to, what I would call, invite serendipity. You have to invite randomness into your life. When you invite randomness into your life, unusual things can show up. Like when I made my trip to Istanbul, I really was not planning to invest anything. I just wanted to understand Turkey better, see what was going on. I didn't really have any plan beyond that, right? And but it opens up some opportunities. Next question.
Hello, Mohnish. This is Rupa from JNV Bangalore, Telangana. And my question to you is it right to choose a job which we don't like and get more money?
If you become a civil engineer, for example, when you finish from IIT or NIT, computer science graduates will make more than civil engineers because demand is more. But after 5 to 8 years, the civil engineers may be making more because a good experienced civil engineer, India has a very big shortage. So what happens is that someone who starts out at a lower amount, ends up in a different place. It's not a good idea to decide what to study based on how much money it pays. That's a really bad idea. So I had a IT service business, and after I heard about Buffett in 94 and I started to do investments, I was getting more and more interested in investments, less and less interested in computer science and information technology and all of that. And in 1999, I left my company, the IT company, and went all into investments, set up a fund and all that. When I left that company and I brought in a CEO, then later I sold the company. There were about 170 people in the company. One of my senior employees came to me. He had joined, I was just starting out. And he said to me, Mohnish, IT is the hottest field. You are leaving IT. I said, yeah, I'm leaving IT. He said, are you mad? This is the hottest field. This is going to do so well. I said, it doesn't matter how well it does. I want to do what I'm excited about doing, right? So I'm going to do what I want to do based on that. Then recently, I ran into him again. He's still in IT, okay? And then I told him, Rajiv, what do you think of my switch, leaving the hot IT behind? He said, I bow deeply. I was wrong. And I said, I did not know that I will do well in this field or whatever else or any of that. If you go into an area that you have a lot of interest in and you work hard in that area, it is not possible that you will not do well. You will do really well. And it is not worth wasting your time just to collect a paycheck. That's a very bad idea. We have a very short life. We don't want to waste a life on just doing things. So what happens is that when you go to IIT or when you're graduating from IIT, people will ask you, where are you going to work? And everyone wants to go work for an employer that looks very impressive. I'm working at Google, I'm working at Microsoft, I'm working here and there, whatever. It's the wrong way to make the decision. You should go to work for people you like, admire, and trust. So when you're trying to figure out which company or which group or entity to go to work for, it's the people that you will work with that are the most important. And the people that you will want to work with, you have to make sure you like them, you admire them, and you trust them. If they don't fit that criteria, and in none of this is the salary. The salary is irrelevant. Doesn't matter if it is 1/3 or 1/2 of what someone else is paying you. You go to the place that you have the most interest in. In the long run, you'd come out way ahead. Next question.
Hello, sir. I'm Amrita from JNV Bangalore.
My question to you is, which one do you think we should inculcate in our life? Everything in something or something in everything?
Have a seat. Well, I think you want to do everything in something, right? I mean, the key in life is to focus. So you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You really want to be a master of something. So if you have to choose between being an inch deep and a mile wide, or a mile deep and an inch wide, you want to be a mile deep and an inch wide. So you want to find what is your calling in life. Finding your calling in life is not easy, but you have to try different gloves on to figure out which glove fits the best, which work you like the best, which people you like the best to work with, and then go on. Okay, well, it was a lot of fun to spend time with you. I hope you enjoyed the session. The key in life is how many doubles you can get. That's the key in life, how many doubles. And then everything is okay.